everyone, my name is Maddie, and today I will be discussing the difference between an in-home daycare and a daycare center. Now, the first thing I want you to do is close your eyes and imagine your life 5 to 7 years from now. Some of you may be starting a family. Along with starting a family, you need to think about who's going to be watching your children while you're at work. This is a big choice for you to make. So the obvious two choices, like I mentioned, are a daycare center and an in-home daycare. Today I will be discussing with you the advantages of a daycare center, along with a couple of disadvantages as well. The first thing I wanted to discuss was a disadvantage. It's the pricing of the two. So according to Child Care Aware of America, the price for an infant to attend a child care center is going to be around $900, depending on the center and the company, of course. Now this is going to lower as your child gets older because they become more independent and they can do more on their own. So by the time your child's in preschool, it's going to only be about $700 a month. So there's a big change in pricing. Along with the prices of a child care center, the prices of an in-home daycare are dramatically less. So the price for an infant to go is $700 a month, and then by the time they get to preschool, it's going to be about $600. So a big difference, but it'll definitely be worth it after I tell you some of these advantages of daycare centers. Which leads me into my poster board. It's backwards to you, but hopefully you can follow along by me reading them. So the first thing I want to touch base on is the multiple teachers in a daycare center. This is important because if someone were to become ill, they can plan for a substitute, and your child will still have care for the day. Whereas an in-home daycare, if your teacher is sick and your provider can't watch your children, that leaves you in a pinch, and you're going to either need to call into work or scramble and find someone else to watch your children. The next thing I want to talk about is curriculum. This is huge because there's a big difference between the two daycare options. So a daycare center is going to have structured curriculum where they plan out in-depth different topics for the day for you to teach your children. And this will be center-wise. So all of the classrooms will be working on the same thing, just at different age-appropriate levels. And then an in-home daycare, they're typically not going to be able to provide a lot of age-appropriate learning. Of course, some providers will have different curriculums than others, and they may go in-depth and offer your children what they need. But a daycare center is going to have more age-appropriate, and it's going to be more structured. So along with the curriculum being structured, the kids are going to have a more structured schedule at a daycare center. The in-home daycare tends to have a more flexible structure, and they tend to just go with the flow. But a center is going to have a really particular schedule, and it's not going to change that much. You're going to know exactly what your child is doing at exactly what time. The next topic about a center is school readiness. This is a big one, especially if you have a 4-year-old getting ready to start kindergarten. You want them to be used to a schedule. You want them to be used to having curriculum and learning different things every day. An in-home daycare isn't going to have much age-appropriate activities. If you think about it, their children ranges a lot. So they're going to have infants in the same room as 7-year-olds. And that's a big age gap. So planning different activities for different age groups is going to be difficult. My next topic I wanted to talk about was TV time. In-home daycares is probably going to offer a bit of screen time. So that means watching movies or TV, and centers don't offer that. That's something to think about and have in mind, because if I was a mom, I wouldn't want my children to have a lot of screen time. I'd rather have them be learning more and have more hands-on activities, but in-home daycares just can't offer as much of those, so that's going to have more TV time. The last thing I wanted to touch base on is cleanliness. Daycare centers have licensing checkups often where they're checking to make sure everything's getting cleaned properly and everything is clean for your children to play with so that we don't spread illnesses and things like that. In-home daycares, of course, they're going to do cleaning as well, but it is a home, so it's going to have a little bit more leniency on the cleaning. So that's just another thing to keep in mind when choosing if you would like to send your kids to a center or an in-home daycare. With that, I wanted to share a couple things with you from the daycare center that I actually work at. So as a lead teacher, we are required to fill a lesson plan. On this lesson plan, you have to plan activities for each category. A couple of the categories include art, science and STEM activities, language arts and math, and then of course dramatic play, large muscle, fine muscle, and music. Those are just a few of the lesson planning criteria that we need to plan for, and that's daily. So you need to plan at least one thing per category daily for your children. So that's ensuring that you're really teaching kids every different type of learning. Kids learn differently. So if they learn through hands-on, you're going to have more hands-on things for them to do. But you're also going to ensure that they're getting every subject that they need. Which leads me into the curriculum topics that we're given. This is an example. So an example would be a week where you strictly talk about bugs. So you're going to talk about ants on Monday, butterflies Tuesday, and so on. That way, they're not just learning about bugs as a whole, but you're really diving in and discussing different things like that. So those are a couple examples of daycare centers, curriculum, and lesson planning to really ensure that your children are getting everything that they need. In conclusion, no matter what you choose for your children to go, just make sure you dive in a little bit more so you really know what your children are getting. That's all. Thank you.